I don't know if you can tell, I'm a little excited about this next bonus item. Oh, again, one of Photoshop's top 10 features, in my view, is something called a clipping mask. Now, clipping mask is the dumbest name ever. I keep saying that, don't I? For this. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you and teach you that this trick you already learned. You learned it in kindergarten. Now, tell me that you want my glitter and glue handout, and I will reply with this PDF file for you. It's going to walk you through what I'm doing right now. Okay? You want the glitter and glue handout. I'm going to open an image and let you just take a peek at how glitter and glue works. Now remember, on your notes, if you were to look this up online or in the Adobe manual, they don't call it the obvious name glitter and glue. They call it clipping mask. It's a mask. Oh wow, is it awesome. I'll show you how to use it, and then I'll show you why I use it in so many ways. Here we go. Back to kindergarten. Remember in kindergarten when you got some glue in a little tube and you squirted it out like I've done here. You've squirted out some glue on a piece of, I don't know, construction paper. Let's just pretend that this checkerboard pattern is my special construction paper. The glue was squirted out. You were as careful as you could be with it. But then you got a little vial of glitter. You remember this. You're going back with me in time. And when you had your glue on the construction paper, you shook out that glitter, and was the glitter very carefully placed on the glue, or did it kind of go everywhere? I remember you from kindergarten class. It went everywhere. Now I'm going to turn on another layer that's above, and I'm just showing you that my glitter went everywhere. Just like kindergarten. Now let's review. The glue was on the bottom. The glitter came second, was on the top. That's really all you have to remember from kindergarten, from your earliest days of school. Glue is on the bottom. Are you taking notes? If not, ask me for my glitter and glue handout. The glitter is on top. And all you have to remember is what you did in kindergarten at that moment in time. How did you clear out the excess glitter? Say it. I heard it. Half of you said you shook it. And the other half, you meanie pies, blew it. You were either a shaker or a blower. You shake or you blow. And that's the only piece I have to teach you. What is the equivalent of shake or blow in Photoshop? It's this. Get ready. Mac users are going to hold the Option key. PC users are going to hold the Alt key. And you're going to, with that key down, you're going to hover between the two layer names, between the glue and the glitter. When the Alt or Option key is held down, you'll see this magic icon right there. That's it. That's what you're looking for. And if you're holding that key and you see that icon between the two layers and you click while seeing that icon, it will shake or blow. Are you ready? All the excess disappears and your glitter is stuck to your glue. That's how it works. They don't call this glitter and glue, although they ought to. They call it clipping mask. Let me tell you why I think glitter and glue is a better name. The analogy that I'm using. So now we're going to grow up. We're not in kindergarten anymore. The analogy works for me for several reasons. I'm going to zoom in and let you get a better look at my layers and see if you can detect what happened after I Option or Alt clicked? What changed? Now I'm going to help you by clicking it again. And when you hold it after it's been done, it undoes it, see? Tell me what you notice. I'm just going to keep going back and forth. There should be at least 3 things that you notice have changed. What's the obvious thing? Glitter layer indented. The glitter layer indented. Why? Well, it had to make room for the second thing that you notice. This little arrow that points down. Before we ran this, there was no arrow. So it both indents and points the arrow down, letting you know I'm a glitter layer and I'm going to rain down on the layer below me, which is now a glue layer. But here's the thing you might have missed. Look at the word glue. You see how the glue, when it becomes glue, is stuck to the construction paper. It gets an underline as if it's laying on a piece of paper. The glitter and glue analogy works really well. The glitter is always above the glue layer, just like kindergarten. The glitter is raining down on what? On the glue layer, which is signified by the underline. This is an actual simple, very simple technique to do, but I'm going to show you some very clever ways to utilize it. I showed you this when I was doing the tease video. You didn't know how to do it, but you saw me do it. I have 2 layers. One is the word clouds, and one is a photo of clouds, which thinks it's my background. Now the problem is I want my background, I want the photograph to act like my glitter that rains down on everything. And I want the word clouds to be my glue. Go back to kindergarten. If I want clouds, the word clouds, to be my glue, where is the glue? Is it on the bottom or on the top? The glue was always squirted down first. So I have to think. I have to move my word to the bottom, below the background layer. But you'll notice as I try to do that, it's giving me the international symbol for I want it to go below the background. It goes, oh, no, you don't. Now, in French, that is no. You're not allowed. It's my best French impression. So here's what you do. Really simple. Pick the lock. Pick the lock. The word background, that's not a purse, it's a lock. How do you pick the lock? You stick your finger in it. I'm going to stick my finger in it. I just picked the lock. And now background is no longer called background, is it? Nope, it's just called layer 0. That's all I need. I'm going to drag the word, there it goes, below the photo. Where's the word? It's below the photo. The photo is opaque. How do I make the photo stick to the word? You know, shake or blow. Option or Alt key, click between the 2 layers. Sound effects are optional. And now that photo is acting like glitter. You can see it. That's the glitter layer that's falling down, raining down on the word, which is the glue. How do I know? Because it's on the paper. It's underlined. Just like kindergarten. Not quite. It's better than kindergarten, as it ought to be, because those 2 layers are still independent of each other. In kindergarten, when you sprinkled down the glitter, it was stuck. But not so here. Notice I can get my move tool and I can move the glitter independently. Woo! I'm still so impressed. Hey, wait a minute. The word clouds is still a word. It's still, the letter T there tells me it still thinks it's type. So I can change tools. I can go grab my type tool and I can change clouds to cheese if I wanted. There, it's cheese. So they're independent. They're independent. Now I'm going to create another layer. Watch. In my layers panel, new layer. Is this, quiz question, is this new layer glitter? How do you know? Well, because, Rick, it's not indented and there's no arrow. You're right. That new layer is not yet glitter. Is it glue? No. How do you know? Because there's no underline. Aren't you the smart one? But check what happens. If either before I paint on it or after I paint on it, it doesn't matter when. If I paint on it, that new layer, I'm going to paint with orange, just like cheese. I filled the whole layer with orange cheese. I filled the whole layer with orange. In a minute, it's going to be glitter. And I'm going to hold the Option or the Alt key and click between it and the previous glitter layer. Well, I wouldn't have expected that would even be possible. But now what it does is it lets you have multiple glitter layers. You have one glue layer with multiple glitters. I might start with silver glitter, then add gold glitter and orange glitter and so on. And I might have two different photos that are sticking to it. So you can have multiple glitter layers that you can poke in the eye to see or not see at will. Check it out. If I add another layer and I paint with a big chunk of black paint, I'm going to paint with a big old chunk of black paint. But then I stick that layer to the glue. I can shade. Okay, wow. Wow. I love glitter and glue for sticking photos to words. I love glitter and glue for sticking images on top of other images. You saw that in my demo, my tease. You and I are going to play with that a little bit. Let me take a photo of Monument Valley and a photo of someone holding a Polaroid. Now, I found that image on iStock Photo, that Polaroid. And I'm going to use what we already learned. Tools, Photoshop. Please load those two files. Now, you could get both those images into Photoshop however you're used to doing it, okay? But I'm just showing you my preferred way. Two layers. That top layer you learned in the previous bonus video, I might need to scale. I just did it. Because I want it to override the Polaroid image. Somewhere in that neighborhood. I just hit enter or return to say stick it there. I finished transforming it. I'm going to hide it just to make my life less miserable right now. I'm going to hide it by poking that layer in the eyeball. Poke. Now watch what I do. I target the other layer. I just targeted the other layer. Now I'm going to zoom in. Command plus. Command plus. Command plus. If you're the PC user, you're going to do Control plus. Control plus. I'm just zooming in. And I'm going to use the technique we've already learned with the lasso. I'm going to hold the Alt key or the Option key with the regular lasso. And I'm going to, ooh, look, I'm noticing there's a little bit of a shadow inside on this edge I'll remember that. I'm going to use that in a moment. But I'm going to go, I'm holding the Option key or the Alt key. Click. Remember the spider web. Click. Now, don't try to get inside. If you're going to cheat, go a little bit outside of the image. It'll be more kind to you. Click a little bit outside, like a pixel of white outside that edge. Click, and then I'm going to let go. And you know it's going to close that shape. Now that's a rectangle, Rick. Why didn't you just use your rectangle tool? Well, because you can see the image is not quite square. If it were square, I could have gotten away with the rectangle marquee, but not so here. There it is. I've got an area selected, don't I? Look at my layers. As I review with you a trick that we've learned already, I'm going to take that area and jump it. That area is going to jump and separate itself and be on its own on a new layer above. I'm going to Command J, jump, or Control J on the PC. Now, that has just jumped. The selection, the mask I made with my lasso, has just Command or Control J jumped to a new layer. When I hide the background layer, you can see that, yes, in fact, only the area I had selected is now separated on its own layer. Why would I do that? Because we're going to make that part of this image glue. That area is going to become my glue. Let's show my background again. Let's show my Monument Valley photo in beautiful Arizona again. But I want Arizona, Monument Valley, to stick to the glue. Option, click between the two layers. Mind blown. If I don't get that area to separate on its own layer, it doesn't act like glue. It has to be isolated. What makes something glue? Opacity. What? Paint. Paint. That area has to be separated. It has to be the only area that has paint in it compared to its surroundings. That transparency, that checkerboard means there's no paint out there. It's nothing. It's not white. White can be opaque paint. That's not white. That's nothingness. And that's what makes glue. It only sticks, the glitter only sticks where there's paint. And so when you isolate the paint to its own layer, it can become a glue layer. Are they still two independent layers? Yes. So I could still independently, oh, look what happens if I move too much. The original is showing up from the background. There you go. So I use glitter and glue to stick photos to type, to stick photos to other photos, to other areas. Let's have some more fun as I do exactly what I showed you. Again, this is a photograph of my in-laws. This is my wife's father and mother. They are my in-loves, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law in 1955. Wow, I love that photo. They do too, by the way. So I've placed that photo into an old funky border and made it look a little weathered. So I utilize that technique for such purposes. Now, I'm going to show you how I do that, and you know already how to do that. Let's take two photos. You already know my ways. Photoshop, yes dear. Honeydew, would you please? Sure. Snuggle buns, or whatever he calls her this week. I'm opening those two photos in one Photoshop file. Where's the other one? Well, it's on the bottom. I'm never confused about that anymore. The opaque one on top is covering the one below. I'm just going to swap the two by dragging with my hand. Oh my gosh, that's puny tiny. Command T, transform. Look at my arrow. When I get outside, I just scaled it. I transformed it by grabbing a corner. But look what happens to my cursor when I get outside that region of greenness. It just bent. My arrow, my cursor, just bent. And that's a clue that when you're outside, you can click and drag and rotate it. So I'm going to do a little of that action. Kind of move it around, get it where I want it, and hit return or enter. It's in place, but I've got to glitter it and stick it. I'm going to hide it so that I can go find some good glue. Now, if I were to miss a step, if I were to hold the Alt or Option key and click right now, it looks like it's glittering and gluing, but why isn't it sticking to the photo? Because glitter sticks to paint. And since there's paint all over that background, it's not looking any different. It's sticking all over. So, I'll undo that. Let me hide my soon-to-be glitter layer, retarget my background layer, grab my lasso tool, you know the drill, Option click or Alt click, 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 and I just have to let go on the last one. It completes. What do I want to do to this area of paint? I want to jump it. I need to isolate it. I need a layer, Command J or Control J on the PC. I need some paint in that shape, in that area, to be isolated. That'll do me. That will be my glue layer. Let's go see the photo of my in-loves. Hold the Option key and click, and they stick to the photo. Amazing. Can I add another layer above? Yes, you know I can. You've seen me do it. I'm going to add a new layer above. I'm going to get my paintbrush. I'm going to paint with a soft, edged brush. I'm going to paint from click here to shift click there. And from here, click again, shift click there. Rick, are you sure? Because that looks pretty gross. But look what happens when I stick that as a glitter layer to the photo. It starts to shade it. I like the shade, but it's a little harsh. Go to your opacity on the layer and dial the opacity down. Just get it where you want it. Is it an independent layer? So you could get your move tool. This is magic. And move it. Now I'm just picking it up and moving it with my cursor, but I'm not going to do that. I want to be more precise. So that layer is highlighted. I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard. Up, up, over, over. I'm just hitting the left and the top. I'm just nudging it to get the look I want. Poke it in the eye. I don't want to see it. Ooh, you know what? That was an improvement. Re-see it. Glitter and glue. You've seen me do it. Let's do it again. Last time. 2 images. However you get them into Photoshop, go for it. But you know my preferred way. I'm waiting. There we go. Now, I don't see the rose petal paper, so I'm going to move it up. You already know that. Oh, there it is. It's not quite big enough to cover this top photo and the rubber band. I know. And so I'm just going to make it a little larger. Now sometimes when I do this, I use a trick. I hit the letter or number 5 on my keyboard, and it makes that layer turn 50% opaque quickly so that I can see both while I'm doing this. So I can see how big to make it, temporarily. Then I went Command or Control T for transform. There, it's at least big enough to cover. I hit Enter to say, yes, I'm done transforming. I had hit 5 earlier for 50% opacity. I'm going to go back and hit 0 for 100% opacity. I know it's big enough to cover the frame I'm about to create. Let me turn the eyeball off. I don't want to see it. Retarget. I keep saying that because this is a mistake you'll make. Retarget the background layer. You know the drill. In this case, I'm option clicking. I'm going to ignore the rubber band for now. You'll see why. Let it go. Da, 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 da. I'm going to jump it. Command J or Control J. Hide my background just for you so you can see what I did. All right. While I'm on that layer, let's have some fun. I'm going to use my object selection tool to select an object. There goes my hamster running in the wheel. I'm going to be patient. Now I can hover. It detected a rubber band shape. Let's click it. All I wanted to do was select it, but now I'm going to leave back to my move tool. I'm on that layer. On the previous bonus video, I told you there are 3 things that can happen to you when you create a layer mask. If you don't have anything selected, it creates a new layer mask filled with lights on. But if you have something selected, when you create a new layer mask, it thinks you want to mask it. It thinks you want just it and nothing else. Do you see what it did? It selected the rubber band and nothing else. So if you have a selection when you add a layer mask, it automatically fills that area with lights on and everything else with lights out. Just so you know. Sometimes I love that. Sometimes, it's exactly backwards. Sometimes I want it to reverse that. I want it to flip that. And so, with my mask selected, I can take the image that I have, the mask image, and I can invert. What's that going to do? It's going to make white black and make black white. What I see, I won't see. What I don't see, I will see. Get a good look where I am. Image adjustments, invert. Command I, Control I, boom. Let's see what it did. So now, when I see all that, the rubber band is not a part of my glue layer. It's not. I'm ready to shake or blow. I'm going to Option or Alt click between the rose petal paper. And if I hadn't have isolated with the layer mask that rubber band, right, it would have stuck to the rubber band also. Rick, how did you hide that so quickly? I showed you this in a previous video. In the layer mask, if I want to see what it would have done without it, I shift clicked, puts a big red X through it. See what would have happened if I didn't use it? I told you that Alt or Option click lets me see it up close and personal in beautiful blackness and whiteness, in beautiful I don't see you, I do see you. And I told you that if you hold the Command or Control key, you can make a selection out of that area. And I'm going to do that now. Kind of fun. I'm on my mask. All right, get ready. I'm almost finished. I'm going to pretend that that rubber band is not opaque. I'm going to pretend that that rubber band is somewhat translucent, that I could see some of the rose petal paper through the rubber band, but just a little bit. So this is going to blow your mind. Earlier, I showed you there's something called adjustment layers. And we can use adjustment layers non-destructively. But I also told you, but they exist up here under image adjustments. And I said, those are destructive. We'll never use those if we're smart, unless we're editing a mask. These adjustments, image adjustment curves, for example, are still there because I can utilize those on a mask. If I were utilizing curves on art, I would click the art in the layers and I would use an adjustment layer version of curves. Okay, but I want to run curves on my mask. Remember the mask? Where some of it is pitch black and I can't see it. Some of it's white and I can see all of it. What we're going to do is make that part of the rubber band not black, not white. We're going to make it a shade of gray. And if it's a shade of gray, then you can kind of see through it. It's kind of lights out, kind of lights on. It's very dim light. So cool. I'm clicking on my mask. Image adjustment because I'm editing a mask. I'll pick curves, which is very scary, but let me show you. I'm looking at this little gradient. This gradient, notice right here, there's some dark stuff. And then it gets brighter. And over here on the bottom, there's some bright stuff, and then it gets darker. And one of those is called output, and one of those is called input. And right now, what's in my art is what I'm going to get out of my art if I print, but I'm going to adjust that. Watch me. I want to edit my blackness, and so I find the darkest dark, input, output. There it is, that little mark right there. And as I start to drag straight down, I don't know if you can tell, but my rubber band is turning translucent. I'm telling it with curves because I don't know what shade of gray I want yet. I'm not going to keep filling it. If I drag all the way to the bottom, what was black, the rubber band, just became white. Lights on. Back up. Lights out. I'm just going to pick and choose some amount of translucence just to sell the effect. Beautiful. Now, if I were to show you the mask itself, it's a shade of gray. It's not black. So on a mask of any sort, we're going to see that coming up when we talk about channels later. A mask of any sort. White is lights on. You can see it. Black is lights out. You can't see it. But what if it's a shade of gray? Now you know you can kind of see it. And the shade of gray tells me how much I can see. It's a very simple and effective use of curves, which is otherwise ridiculously nonsensical. Just grab it and drag it. That may be all you ever want to do inside curves, is take the black and gray it out, or take the white and gray it out. It's the opposite effect. I don't want to see as much of it. Let me cancel. I don't know. I feel sort of lightheaded because I'm so thrilled with this. Maybe you do too. Maybe you're going to go, what in the world have I just seen? This is why I did the tease video. You got to see everything it can do before you get in and start to unpack how to do it Otherwise, it's just too much. Just explaining layer masks may have been too much. Go back and watch. Go back and watch.